I didn't expect to be alone with him. That was the first thing that made me uneasy. Not fear, just awareness. The kind that settles in slowly, like realizing you're standing closer to the edge than you thought. My husband was inside finishing a conversation, and his son had already opened the car door for me. Polite, automatic. Like this had been decided without either of us saying it out loud. "I'll take you," he said. The drive started quietly. No music, no small talk. Just the low hum of the engine and the steady rhythm of streetlights passing over the windshield. I kept my gaze forward, my hands folded in my lap, aware of how still everything felt. He drove carefully. Too carefully. Both hands on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road, jaw tight, like he was holding something back. Not emotion exactly, but words. "You okay?" he asked after a while. "Yes," I said. "I'm fine." The answer felt rehearsed. We drove another block in silence before he spoke again. "You ever notice," he said slowly, "how quiet gets louder at night?" I glanced at him. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, but didn't look at me. "During the day, no one notices anything. At night, you hear things. You see things you didn't mean to." The words lingered between us. "I guess so," I said. He nodded once, like that was enough. The car slowed at a red light. The glow from the signal washed over his face, making him look older, more serious. Not a kid. Not quite a man, either. Something in between. "You don't have to answer this," he said. "But do you ever feel like people think they know you, and they don't?" I took a breath before responding. "Yes," I said. "More than they realize." He exhaled, almost a laugh, but stopped himself. "That's what I thought." The light turned green. He kept driving. "I notice things," he said after a moment. "Probably more than I should." I didn't ask what he meant. Some questions invite answers you can't unhear. Instead, I said, "Like what?" He hesitated. "The way you pause before you speak," he said, "like you're choosing which version of yourself to show." My chest tightened. "That's not always a bad thing," I replied. "No," he agreed. "But it's not nothing either." We turned onto my street. The houses were dark and quiet, windows glowing softly like they were keeping secrets of their own. He slowed the car but didn't stop right away. "I think," he said carefully, "people underestimate how much silence can say." I nodded. "Yes," I said. "They do." He pulled up to the curb and put the car in park. For a second, neither of us moved. The engine idled. The night pressed in around us. Then he turned slightly toward me, not fully, just enough to let me know he was thinking something through. "I just wanted you to know," he said. "I wasn't trying to listen. I just heard." I met his eyes for the first time. "I know," I said. And in that moment, we both understood the same thing. Some things aren't meant to be spoken, but once they're heard, they don't disappear. I reached for the door handle, then stopped. Not because I wanted him to say more, because I wasn't sure I could handle it if he did. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said. The words came out steady, but they felt heavier than they should have, like they were doing more work than just reassuring him. He nodded, but didn't look convinced. "I know," he said. "That's not why I mentioned it." Silence again. Not awkward, intentional. I think, he continued, choosing his words with care, that people think listening is the same as intruding. I turned slightly toward him. And you don't? No, he said. I think sometimes you hear things because you're supposed to. That landed differently. I studied the dashboard lights, the soft glow outlining the car like a private space neither of us had named. Outside, a porch light flickered on somewhere down the street. And what do you think you were supposed to hear? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he rested his hands on his thighs, palms down. Grounded. Controlled. That you're not invisible, he said. My breath caught before I could stop it. I didn't mean that in a way that crosses anything, he added quickly. Just that you matter. More than people notice. I nodded once. Thank you, I said. It felt like the safest response, the only one that didn't lean too far in any direction. He smiled then, not wide, just enough to acknowledge something shared and immediately put away. I should let you get inside, he said. Yes, I agreed. You should. I opened the door and stepped out into the cool night air. The quiet felt different outside the car, less contained, more exposed. Before I closed the door, he spoke again. For what it's worth, he said, eyes still forward. I think you handle silence better than most people. I paused. So do you, I replied. That made him smile again. I closed the door gently. As I walked up the path to my house, I felt the weight of the moment settle. Not as regret, not as longing, but as awareness. Some conversations don't change anything on the surface. They just redraw the lines underneath. And once you know where they are, you don't step the same way again. I stood at the door longer than I needed to. The key was already in my hand, but I hadn't turned it yet. I could still feel the quiet of the car behind me, the way that moment hadn't rushed to end, just waited. Inside, the house was dim, familiar, safe in the way routines pretend nothing has shifted. I slipped my shoes off and set my bag down, moving slowly, deliberately. Every sound felt louder now. The click of the lock, the soft hum of the refrigerator, my own breathing as I leaned against the counter. I told myself it was nothing. Just a conversation. Just words. But words have weight when they're chosen carefully. Later, as I lay in bed, the ceiling fan traced slow circles above me. I replayed the drive in pieces, not the lines themselves, but the pauses between them. The restraint. The way neither of us crossed anything. And how that somehow mattered more. I thought about how often adults confuse control with distance. Sometimes control is staying present. Sometimes distance is the real risk. The next day, I saw him at breakfast. He was polite, normal. Asked if I wanted coffee while he was already pouring his own. Didn't linger. Didn't avoid me either. Nothing in his posture suggested the night before. And yet, there it was. In the way he listened. In the way he waited before speaking. When our eyes met, it was brief. Neutral. Acknowledged and released. I realized then that whatever had passed between us wasn't a secret. It was an understanding. The kind that doesn't demand anything. The kind that simply exists and asks you to be more careful with yourself. I finished my coffee and stood, feeling steadier than I had the night before. Some lines aren't drawn to keep people apart. They're drawn to remind you where you stand. and I intended to stay there. That night, I didn't replay the drive again. I let it rest where it belonged. Not because it meant nothing, but because it didn't need more from me. Some moments don't ask to be analyzed or continued. They ask to be acknowledged and then left intact, exactly as they were. The next time I saw him, everything was normal. And that's how I knew it mattered. No tension spilling over. No lingering glances. No effort to return to it. Just a quiet understanding that stayed where it should. I realized something then. Not every boundary is loud. Not every line is drawn with distance. Some are drawn with respect. And some moments, the ones that almost say too much, exist only to remind you who you are choosing to be. I chose carefully, and I slept just fine after that.